the way every day goes. Every time we've no control. If the sky is pink and white, if the ground is black and yellow, it's the same way you showed me. Nod my head, don't close my eyes. Halfway on a slow move. It's the same way you showed me. If you could fly, then you'd feel south. Up north's getting cold soon. The way it is, we're on land, so I'm someone to hold true. Keep you cool when it's still alive. Won't let you down when it's all ruined. Just the same way you showed me. Showed me. You showed me love. Glory from above. Regard, dear. It's all downhill from here. In the wake of a hurricane, dark skin of a summer shade, nosedive in the floodlines, tall tower, milk crate. It's the same way you showed me. Cannonball off the porch side, older kids trying off the roof. Just the same way you showed me. You showed. If you could die and come back to life, up for air from the swimming pool, you kneel down to the dry land, kiss the earth that birthed you, gave you tools just to stay alive and make it out when the sun is ruined. That's the same way you showed me. You showed me love. Glory from above. Regard, dear. It's all downhill from here. Remember life. Remember how it was. I'm G, Michael Jackson, all this shit. Say what up to Maggie, the shoe. Say what up to Benny. Say what up to life and mortality. Running up my bikes, running up. Not for me, 15, still in granny 6. Take it easy. Give me some sweet. Bitch, I might like immortality. This is life, life, immortality.
Hello everyone, my name's Ian. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is February 10th, 2023, and I think we have really good evidence to claim, to assert, that the impulsive move up has finally resumed. Okay, the impulsive move up that we experienced for all of January has finally resumed, and we're going to look at why I'm saying that. If that sounds interesting to you, then keep watching. Hope you're doing well. It's nice and sunny and mildly, it's mild. It's unseasonably warm, I would say, in the DC metro area. All right, let's start with the DXY, actually. Okay. So the DXY is very, very important, as you all know. This is my main indicator. I know a lot of people have a lot of different indicators that they use. A lot of, they're watching the news, they're listening to, what's going on, at the Fed, watching the stock market. I care about one thing and one thing only outside of the four corners of the crypto charts. And that is the four corners of the US dollar currency index chart, because on this channel, my thesis is that the dollar moves all risk on assets. If the dollar goes up, risk on assets, Bitcoin, stocks, equities in general go down, and vice versa. Okay, so we want to pay close attention to the dollar and see what it's doing. And if it's going up, we're likely to go down in crypto and vice versa. So here we can see that the dollar is experiencing some resistance on this level. I've spoken about this in the past few days. We have a nice trend line here representing about 80 days worth of price action with multiple touches to prove that this is a viable resistance level. We have our stochastic RSI momentum indicator being topped out on the daily time frame, right? For that, also on the 4-hourly time frame, we're topped out. On the hourly time frame, we're topped out. On the 15-minute time frame, we're topped out, right? So this is like, if you're bullish on the dollar, you don't like this, because not only is the chart saying that you're at resistance, right, but also your momentum indicators are telling you you're about done, okay? And this is exactly what we call an intra-wave correction, meaning the trend is going down and the corrections like this one go up. The corrections like this one go up, right? A lot of people, a lot of traders out there, a lot of Twitter analysts patting themselves on the back saying, oh, I'm such a genius trader, because they're trading these intra-wave corrections where actually the 200 IQ big brain move is to trade the trend, right? You may get 5% move, 10% at best move in Bitcoin and some altcoins going against the trend, but then if you go with the trend, you can easily get 50, 100, 200% plus, right? Just a manner of speaking. In any case, because the DXY is right now at resistance, this tells us it's highly likely that we get an inverse, the inverse move in risk on assets. So they're basically bottoming out because the DXY is topping out, okay? And you can even look at this on the really small time frames. You go to 15-minute time frame like we were on, and you can see like right at that resistance level, you're hitting your head, right? You're hitting your head. And I put this in a channel. I don't know if this is necessarily the count, but I proposed this yesterday, that this was probably my A wave, this was probably my B wave. So that's my initial break. That's my first degree of AB basing, and then my second degree is like something like this, like that. Okay, and then my pivot is right here. That makes sense to me. I like that. I don't know if that's accurate in terms of like that's exactly what's going on, but I think it's something like that. 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot. Essentially, what I'm saying, for those of you who are not subscribed, because I don't want this to be inaccessible to anybody, but why am I counting 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot? What am I talking about? Essentially, what I'm saying is this. According to Elliott wave theory and according to just, my experience, if you look at a chart, you'll find the same thing. Anytime and every time you trend in one direction, you must then put in some sort of sideways either accumulation or distribution to change that trend. So if you're going up, to come down, to change the trend from up to down, you have to distribute. So this, my friends, would be a distributive channel. This is what I was counting. And you can count those distributive channels. They're essentially a collection of corrective waves. And according to my studies, according to my research, according to Elliott wave theory, you find 2 degrees of AB basing, so 2 pairs of an A wave and a B wave, an A wave and a B wave, 2 pairs of corrective waves, right? And then another pair, which is a pivot. And that's how, that's what I was just looking for. Okay, we've established that according to our chart on the DXY, the US dollar is going down any moment now. Okay, 15-minute time frame, hourly time frame, 15-minute time frame, hourly time frame, 4-hourly time frame, daily time frame, all bearish. So this is what we expect. Now, let's go and look at Bitcoin, what we're actually concerned with. And Bitcoin is actually doing something we didn't initially expect it to do. Okay, so yesterday and some days prior, I was talking about this channel here. Let's actually go on the 4-hourly time frame. Here, yeah. Okay, so I was showing you this channel. Where is it? Where is it? I'm sorry, 1 second. Let me find my tool. Okay, here we go. So I was showing you this channel right here, yeah? And I was saying that this is probably some sort of consolidative channel, right? Where you consolidate, you accumulate. It's a reaccumulation channel. That's what I called it. A reaccumulation channel. Basically, you're not breaking down from here. That was my thesis yesterday before, we broke down, and, days prior to that. And obviously, that was wrong because we broke down. Okay. What I want to say about that is this. Please understand, when we're doing technical analysis, when I'm, prognosticating, when I'm doing my chart predictions and my chart reads, this is essentially an educated guess, okay? It's a really educated guess, and a guess that I'm really confident enough to put money on, right? That's trading, but it's still a guess. There is no 100%. So sometimes it happens that you call it wrong, and what you thought was a reaccumulation channel was a mini distribution channel. And why do I say mini? Because my overall thesis, my high time frame thesis, has not changed. And this is the real important point that I want to make. When you're doing chart analysis and trading those analyses, right? These reads, it's so important to zoom out. If you don't, you have a very, 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 very small margin for error, okay? But having looked at the larger chart and, zoomed out even more on the weekly time frame, we counted all of this as some sort of accumulation channel, and we broke out of it, okay? And that's very clear. There's no discounting the breakout of this and the retest of it. That happened. Based off of that, we're bullish, okay? So the overall thesis is we're in a large impulse to the upside. We're in a trending market, okay? I know some people will tell you, oh, no. This is not a trending market. But, then what do you call this? This is on the daily time frame, mind you, right? This is clearly a trending market on the daily time frame. I understand there is such a thing as some sort of intra-wave correction, but we kind of disprove that with a high degree of probability based off of our weekly read, and I'm not going to get into that. Essentially, what I'm saying is you zoom out enough, you formulate a strong enough thesis, and generally speaking, you're going up, right? Chart analysis, let's keep it simple. Either you're going up, down, or sideways, right? You could say either you're going up or down. I think it's quite clear that we're going up. But as you go up, you don't go up in a straight line. So as we go up, we're going to chop sometimes. We're going to consolidate sometimes. We're going to retrace a little bit sometimes, okay? But given my personal trading positions that I entered during these accumulations, during the bear market accumulation, they're not even close to being threatened by a move like this. Do you see what I mean? So you can be wrong with a small time frame retracement and still be well in profit, right? And I'm not bragging or anything like that, but like that is really what you want to do when you trade. You want to give yourself an edge. You want to give yourself the best probability of succeeding, and the best probability to succeed is on a higher time frame, reading the market, and then maybe you zoom in to make entries and exits, but you don't do, and I'm speaking from experience. And obviously, if you're drawn to day trading, if you're drawn to going on a 5-minute, 1-minute chart and trading that, by all means. But that's a great way to lose. And those YouTubers that are bragging about trading this to the downside, probably most of them are underexposed, or are underexposed in positions from here in this move. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, don't be confused by what you see on social media. Just because somebody got this doesn't mean they got that. Would you rather get this or that, right? Which one is more appealing, right? The other thing I want to say is this. We can see that I have this line drawn. That is a downtrending resistance of 430 or 40 days. It's a long-term downtrending resistance. And I said this a few days ago, if we did break down from this channel, I would expect us to come down and retest this line. And I think I repeated that yesterday as well. But if you zoom in a little bit, right? Let's zoom in on the 4-hourly time frame. Just because this is a high time frame resistance that we broke doesn't necessarily mean that we have to retest it to the penny, because sometimes you don't hit the targets on the nose. Sometimes in these retests, right, because it's a breakout retest situation, you find support on another previous resistance that you broke. And so here, let's turn off the momentum indicator. Here, I want to say that it's possible, I don't know for sure, but it's possible that this level on Bitcoin at 21, let's say 21.6, right? The 21.6 level, this level, right? Let's actually, I don't like putting lines as levels. Let's put a rectangle, because it's actually a level, not a price, you know? This level may be a sufficient target, only because there is quite a lot of data proving that this is strong or significant resistance. Significant resistance. You broke it. Now you retest it. Do you see what I mean? So if you were a purist or like a very intransigent trader, speculator, and you said, oh, it has to be that we come all the way down, we may very well, but don't be surprised if this level represents your consolidation reversal. We're going to drop down into a smaller time frame and look at that, but don't be surprised if that represented the support level and where you moved up from, right? Rather than having to come all the way down to this level. Okay? That happens sometimes. Okay? So that's the high time frame read. I wanted to zoom out and show you that. The other thing I want to show you is this. Once you get more data, once you get more data, more candles to print, you have a better idea as to what's going on. And I had an epiphany given yesterday's price action, given like what happened on the chart. I decided, let's get rid of this, we don't need it. I decided, okay, I've told you guys before, even though Elliott wave theory is my forte, that is my expertise, if you will. I look at charts also based off of basic support and resistance, but also if I get intricate, I look and find waves and waves jump out at me, I'm not going to concern myself with trying to count this because it's such a complex count. These high time frame moves, they're hard to count as they're forming. Really hard because there's a lot of extensions, there's all this consolidation while being in impulse. It's just really tricky, okay? And as I was saying a few moments ago, it's better to just know you're going up rather than trying to mince and say, well, this is how we're going up. Like, it can go up a million different ways. You could go down a million different ways. But it's best to just know that you're going up, okay? And so I thought, I'm not exactly sure how to count this, but even if I'm not, let's just say this was some sort of intra-wave correction right there. Because I was like, what was that? I thought this was like a rising channel and then it was going to break up, But when it broke down, I was like, what the hell was that? And so I looked at it, and I looked at this part, okay? And I saw impulse, I saw retracement, I saw impulse. That is a zigzag, okay? That is impulsive, but it's a zigzag. It's not a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, but it's a WXY. We got that on the way down. If you zoom out on Bitcoin's chart on the weekly time frame, you see that it's actually a double zigzag, okay? So we got something like that already. We've seen it before. So I was like, okay, zigzag, but that's not enough to be corrective in and of itself just because of the time element, right? Do you guys understand? Waves of the same degree are comparable in time and in price. So if that was all she wrote, then you would have to have a comparably timed 5-wave up sequence. So I was like, no, that didn't happen. So what the hell is this? It must be the impulsive portion of a larger correction. And then I kind of looked and I saw, oh, this is an ABC flat correction. Okay, this is an ABC flat correction with your impulse or C wave being a zigzag. Okay, again, there's no guessing here. I'm just looking at the chart. It already printed. A lot of times, unfortunately, that's the best time. That's the only way you know these things are coming. It's very difficult to say, oh, I know we're going to get a double zigzag. I would say at this point in my career, at this point in my trading and my understanding, that's impossible. You can't call that because typically you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 waves down. Sometimes you get a zigzag in your impulse. And then you would have to correctly have correctly identified this as being, what am I doing? This as being an A wave and this as being a B wave. Do you see what I mean? You would have to have correctly identified this as being an initial break of structure, this as being your counter, before you say, oh no, I know the impulse is coming. Maybe you can see, based off of levels, based off of divergences, all that stuff. Okay, anyway, all I'm saying is, having seen what the price did, now it helps for me to go back and say, okay, what was that? Let me understand. Why does this help? I'll tell you. So, if that's the case, that this is an ABC, I was like, oh, I wonder how long that lasted. So I take my time measure and I see it's about 11 days. 11 days and some hours. Okay, let's not count the, this is on the 4-hourly chart, so it's going to be approximative, okay? 11 days and some odd hours, okay? Then I was like, okay, well, if that is retracing in 3 waves, it has to retrace a 5-wave sequence. It has to retrace 5 waves up. So I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, where were 5 waves up? And I see the most likely scenario was the most recent 5 waves up was this. And that was an ending diagonal right here. A tough read, but a 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, right? 5 waves of 3 ending diagonal. So I thought, I wonder how long that lasted. So I took my time element, or my measure, my whatever this ruler is, and I see it lasted 11 days. Waves of the same degree are comparable in time and in price. If this was 5 waves up, and this was 3 waves down, this is a very, very strong case. And then I was like, okay, wait. Waves of the same degree are comparable in time and in price. Okay, that price comparability means that the retracement needs to be between the 382 and the 618. Typically, wave 2 retraces to between the 0.5 and the 618 of wave 1. Okay, and when I say wave 1, please understand, we're talking about a smaller degree. I'm going to get into that in a second. Hold that thought. But first, let's finish with this. If I take my Fibonacci retracement level from the beginning of this purported 5-wave sequence to the top, do you see? I'm putting it, a lot of people on the internet, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of Twitter people don't know how to pull these retracement levels. There's a way to do them. If you want to be consistent with these findings, right? With what we find to be true when we're counting waves. You have to, again, you can pull Fibonacci retracement levels any way you want. But I'm saying if you want to be consistent with how we measure Elliott waves, then you should pull retracement levels from the bottom to the top, like that, from the bottom to the top, okay? And you should have your levels marked from 0 on down, okay? Anyway, so you can see, look at where it retraced to, almost exactly. That 0.618 level. Look at where that phi ratio is. 0.618 is a phi ratio, by the way. Right exactly where our support and resistance analysis purported or identified as strong support. Right at this blue level. So based off of that confluence, I was like, oh, maybe there's something here. Maybe that was a wave 1, wave 2. Now, you might be asking, what wave 1, wave 2? How could that be wave 1? I don't understand. Dean, you were talking about us being in an uptrend since January, yet you're counting wave 1 all the way up here. Doesn't make any sense. I'm confused. I understand. What I'll say to that is this. In Elliott wave theory, we count waves based off of degree. You can't just say any wave 1. Wave 1 is not wave 1. There's so many different wave 1. There's a cycle wave 1, there's a primary wave 1, there's intermediate wave 1, there's a minor wave 1, there's a minute wave 1, there's a sub-minuet, a minute wave 1, a minuet wave 1, a sub-minuet wave 1, so on and so forth. This, I don't understand, I don't know. I'm not going to begin to count the different degrees of this impulse, of this uptrend. All I'm saying is that it's a smaller, what you're going to see essentially is the beginning of the bull run puts in a wave 1, wave 2, and then you put in another wave 1, wave 2, then you put in another wave 1, wave 2 of a smaller degree, another wave 1, wave 2 of a smaller degree, another wave 1, wave 2 of a smaller degree. Do you see how that works? You're continually in the beginning of an impulse, of a large high time frame impulse. You're going to put in a series of wave 1, wave 2 of decreasing degree. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not losing anybody. Let me know if I am. So the first big, think Russian dolls, a big degree, wave 1, wave 2. In that wave 3 of this big degree, you're going to have another wave 1, wave 2. And then you're going to have another wave 1, wave 2. Then you're going to have another wave 1, wave 2. And then you're going to have another wave 1, wave 2. You understand? Until that wave 3 plays out. I hope that makes sense. I know it makes sense to me because I see it all the time, and I've studied this for a while. But if you're confused, maybe it's normal. Maybe you just need to sit with it. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that This is a small degree wave 1, wave 2 scenario, so I'm not surprised that I'm seeing wave 1, wave 2 price action all the way up here, okay? And the idea that this wave 2, or purported wave 2, what I believe is wave 2, has found support both on the 618 and on my blue level of support gives me a strong, gives me confidence, or it's more evidence to say that this level that we're at right now, so let's jump down. So this level that we're at right now represents our accumulation, a mini accumulation range that we're in that we should move from, okay? So let's zoom in even more and look at this. Let's go on the 15-minute time frame. Guys, if you're getting value, please like, share, and subscribe. So on the 15-minute time frame, what do we see? We see that we've come down, right, in what we called a zigzag, and it's likely a zigzag. Okay, what's a zigzag? A zigzag, you can say it's an ABC or a WXY. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe a zigzag is a WXY by definition, but anyway, it's 3 movements, right? These corrective patterns come in flavors of 3. So 1, 2, 3. The second part, the B wave or the X wave, whatever you want to call it, retraces to a minimum of the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level of that first wave. So, or else it can't be a zigzag. Please understand that. And again, that's why it's important to know how to pull your fibs, or else you can't measure these things. If it's short of that 0.5, it can't be a zigzag, okay? So you take your Fibonacci retracement level from the top to the bottom, and you can see that retracement is a 0.5, okay? So why do we go from the top to the bottom? Because the impulse is going in that direction. Please don't get confused. Basically, you go in the direction of the impulse. So before, I was pulling it from the bottom to the top because I was looking at a trend that was going up. I'm looking at a trend, a zigzag that's going down. So that's why I pull my Fibonacci retracement levels from the top to the bottom. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I want to figure out how much it's retraced, and you could see here that this 3-wave sequence, this B wave or X wave, whatever you want to call it, touched that 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level. Okay, so that's what gives me more confidence to label this as a WXY. Okay, so if you count that, and in this you should be able to count like 5 waves. I'm not able to do it that confidently because it looks like a messy ending diagonal, something like that. Okay, so, and then the other thing is, you can measure these things. Typically, in an ABC or WXY zigzag, let's do that one more time. In an ABC or WXY zigzag, if you take the length, and I'm going to use the Fibonacci extension tool, okay? This is a different tool than the retracement tool. The extension tool basically is what it sounds like. You want to project based off of 2 waves, you project the 3rd wave, okay? So we're going to use the A wave or the W wave, whatever you want to call it. And, oh, sorry. I'm just trying to catch this point right here with the magnet. Gotta be patient. Okay, there we go. And then the top, you use the orthodox highs. So the orthodox high to this B wave is right here. And you can see exactly. So 1 to 1, 2, 3, 6 is your target, your typical target. If in a W, X, Y, or ABC correction, most corrections. It could be a zigzag, it could be a flat correction. 1 to 1, 2, 3, 6 is your typical target. Not always. Sometimes you get truncated running flats. Sometimes you get extended corrections. But your typical correction extends to the 1 to 1, 2, 3, 6 Fibonacci extension level. Boom, boom, boom. Right to the 1, 2, 3, 6, almost to the penny right there. And this is where we have our accumulation. So that's another data point. Again, This is all educated guessing. Please understand that. There is no crystal ball here. There is no 100%. So when I went into my exchanges yesterday and added some positions, it was based off of all this data. I'm taking data. I'm like, okay, this, that, and the third is true. So, ergo, this is a higher degree of probability that we put in consolidation reversal at this level. This is the support, okay? And like I said earlier in the stream, there are only a few things that you know for sure. One is that when the price is going down or up impulsively, whatever the time frame, in order to change directions, you first have to go sideways, okay? Again, price goes down, first you got to go sideways before you go up, okay? So I know, and I'm waiting and looking for that accumulation range, which is what I believe we're in, okay? So let's look at that now. And so we already at this point have a decent amount of information, decent amount of data pointing to this level being a veritable accumulation for continuation to the upside, okay? So let's look at this even closer. Okay. So what do we know about these accumulation ranges? We know that they occur with that pattern of 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot. So a sequence of corrective waves, 2 pairs of corrective waves and a pivot. So essentially 3 pairs of corrective waves. Okay. We also know that the first corrective wave, your A wave, typically targets wave 4 of the previous trend. So that's exactly what we've got here. Okay, so that's always an easy identifier, right? You see that this is the previous degree or previous 5-wave sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is wave 4, and our initial break of structure targeted that wave 4. Or, according to this read, that's what's going on, okay? So we're going to start with that. You always just need to identify that initial break of structure before counting these AB bases. So that's my first. Conscious says, hey, how are you doing? Patience in crypto will be tested every bounce and fall. Conscious also says, could you look at FTM and Glimmer? Glimmer? I forget what it's called. I think it's Moonbeam, I think it is. Amazing videos of the world. Post some hearts back. Much love to you all. So this is my initial. So yeah, we're definitely gonna look at those altcoins. By the way, when we look at this as an initial break of structure, then we can count the counter, because every corrective wave. That's another thing that we know for sure. There's so many unknowns. There are only a few things that you know, a few rules, a few principles. One of the rules is that every corrective wave always has a counter. So everything comes in pairs. Adam and Eve, up and down, left and right, positive, minus, right? This is my first pair. Looks like, okay? Looks like my first pair. This looks like my second pair. Something like that. Or maybe it's something like this. Yeah? This looks like my second pair. And this may be my third, my pivot, okay? Maybe it comes down here. Maybe it puts in a zigzag where it comes down only to the 0.5 to 618 level. You don't know. They're corrective waves. They can do so many things. You can print flats. You can print zigzags. You can retrace from, the 786 all the way to the 1618 Fibonacci retracement level of that initial break of structure. So, every corrective wave comes in pairs. The first is an A wave. That B wave can retrace all the way from the 786 all the way to the 1618. That's why they're unpredictable. They're really tough to trade. But I would say that this is looking like an accumulation, okay? At least in Bitcoin, right? And this also coincides with what we're seeing in the on the small time frames with the US dollar currency index. It looks topped out. It looks like it's playing at resistance. And so once it's finished playing at resistance and putting in exactly the opposite of what we're seeing with Bitcoin, okay? Meaning Bitcoin's putting in an accumulation level, the US dollar currency index is putting in a distribution level, right? Then we see a breakdown, and then we see a break up in Bitcoin and risk on assets. So that's my thesis. That's why. That's all the data, right? Again, every single time I come on this channel, every single time I take a trade, I go through this process in some way, shape, or form. I gather data. I gather information, intelligence from the charts. I'm not necessarily using what Powell said or, that extraneous thing. The most extraneous I get is the DXY, which I think is inherently connected to these charts that we're looking at because it's the underlying asset. It's what we use to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the cryptos. So yeah, that's my read on Bitcoin. That's why I'm reading it that way. I do think that when we do get that move, it's a strong move up. It's a really strong move up because it represents essentially a resumption of this trend, right? This trend that most of we experienced for most of January will go even more because again, when we get into these levels, there's not much resistance. There's a volume gap that I've said on this channel. Basically, there are no orders in that area, so there's a vacuum. So it should go relatively quickly. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Another thing we can do is we can look throughout the crypto market and corroborate that read, right? That idea. Oh, last thing before we move off of Bitcoin. Last thing is I want to say that having a quick look at our indicators, we're not indicator dependent, but there's nothing wrong with using indicators corroboratively. You look at your indicators on a number of time frames, you're completely bottomed out in terms of momentum. Your momentum is oversold. So you're looking for a move up because you have real estate for a move up. So let's start with the daily time frame. Oversold and double bottomed. 4-hourly time frame we're just on. Oversold and almost double bottomed. Hourly time frame. You're overbought, but it's a smaller time frame. Okay, so not as authoritative. Okay, maybe that last move for the pivot brings you back down here. Okay, and then the 15-minute time frame, you're up here. So I would expect, based off of our momentum indicators only, that this right here goes something like this. I don't know for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if I don't know. A lot of things could happen here. We could stay overbought on the smaller time frames if this is indeed going to be such a strong move. Or we could come down a little bit and make this a 3-wave composed flat correction. Again, it's a corrective wave. So, my guess is as good as any what corrective wave we choose to put in. But, still, the idea is that you want to be bullish at support and bearish at resistance. Bitcoin right now is on mathematical support on that phi ratio, as well as, good support and resistance support. So, yeah, not financial advice, but I added, as you'll see in my watch list, I added 2 different positions. 2, yeah, link and dot. Okay, so yeah, I was at work. I was working. I was adding positions, diving into the small time frames, basically buying support and hoping for the best. And so far, so good. So far, so good. And then I added a Bitcoin position on super high leverage, really, really high leverage. So far, so good, but we'll see how that works out. It's one of those, the leverage is so high, I'm more worried about maintain, like paying the fees. I have to pay the fees to keep it open because it's a really high leverage position. But it should be very profitable if it plays out. So we'll see. Okay, let us stay on the 15-minute time frame and observe these accumulation channels as we believe that they are. Okay, let's do a time check. We're good on time. Okay. Yeah. So, like, I'm looking at this range in Cardano and saying the same thing. I'm seeing 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot. Like, your first degree targets wave 4 of the previous trend. You got a counter, or maybe this is the first and this is the counter. I'm not exactly sure. This is the second. Counter of the second. And this may be your pivot already put in. Maybe. Or maybe the pivot has yet to be fully formed. I don't know. But I think you're in the latter parts of breaking out of these channels. Okay? So that's what I see with Cardano. Algorand. A little less straightforward. But I think here you got a 5, 3, 5 type zigzag. Okay, I think somewhere here you got a 0.5 retracement. I'm not exactly sure. I'm guessing. Let's zoom out. I feel a bit trapped in that small time frame. You're right. So this is interesting because when you're looking at this on a higher time frame, this is definitely a rising wedge that you're breaking down from, retesting the upper limit or the lower limit, support limit, and you hit your head on it, and now it's resistance, right? So basic support and resistance analysis would tell you, oh, you're going down. But you want to be careful. And this is why, we learn more subtle ways of looking at markets like Elliott wave analysis, because, support and resistance can get you quite far. But this is one place where it will confuse the hell out of you. What do we know about losing levels, losing support? To lose support, first you have to break it, then you have to retest it, and then you can expect to go south. This is probably what a lot of people are trading, right? They're like, oh, this is going short, but be very careful. There is such a thing as capturing liquidity below support. Okay, that is also a principle. That is a phenomenon. So basically, there's a price is like electricity. It's like water. It wants to go to the lowest level the easiest way. It finds the easiest way. Where's the money? It's looking for pools of money. And people have been looking or using this support level since the 18th of January as, where you buy. You buy support, okay? Come back down, you buy support. Come back down, you buy support. And here, it's like, oh, there must be money right below support. And price loves to do that. It's what the Wyckoff people would call a what do Wyckoff people call that? It's like a dip below support. I forget the term. In any case, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bearish. It could just consolidate right under and then go up. Okay? So that's what I'm seeing on the higher time frame for Algorand. But I do think on the lower time frame, you're putting some form of consolidation reversal in here. Okay. Also, your stochastic RSI momentum indicator is showing that you're bottoming out on the 4-hourly time frame. Okay. This bonk, my favorite shitcoin, it is still in that large accumulation range. Hasn't moved. Hasn't done anything else, right? You're looking for 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot. That's what it's putting in. That's all it's done. Nothing exciting. Again, you want to buy support. And here's another example of price looking for capital, for liquidity right below support levels. It's normal. It's nothing bearish about that. Dent. This is looking to me like a really high time frame running flat. That's what it looks like to me. A high time frame running flat. Okay, like A, B, C. And it wouldn't be A, B, C. It would be W, X, Y. Why? Because this is complex, clearly. The X, when the B wave, let's just say this. What's a complex correction? When the B wave is composed of a lot of little B waves, then we say it's a complex correction. It's an X wave. Do you see? If it was just one wave, three waves, 5 waves, that's an ABC. But when it's 3 waves, this, and then 5 waves, that's a WXY. That's how I look at it. I don't know what other Elioticians do, but that's how I like to look at it. So yeah, that is Dent. Let's zoom in for a second. I'm thinking. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, of what this was as an impulse, you know, what to make of it. And again, I do think that this is a possible zigzag again for your impulse, right? Instead of a 5-wave move. Is this? It's come up a little bit much, right? When you break that 618, I don't know. It could be an impulse. But let me tell you something. This is not wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. It can't be, because there's no comparability in terms of this wave 1 and this wave 2, okay? So I wouldn't necessarily be worried about this being wave 4 and then waiting for the other shoe to drop. But this is likely to be complete, yet this may not be complete, and you may get a revisit of price coming down here before you break out. That's all I'll say. Okay, Dodo. I think this is a little more straightforward here. Here, I think you got what looks to be some sort of ending diagonal. Is it an ending diagonal? I don't know. It's just a 5-wave sequence. That's how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. And then this is your consolidation reversal. So you're waiting for this to break up and out. That's how I'm seeing it on Dodo. Dogecoin. It's tough to read some of these moves, but I do think that you have some sort of move like that. It looks kind of like an ending diagonal. Okay, with that wave 4 is, you know, complex and drawn out. I would say this is an ending diagonal. 3 waves, 3 waves, 3 waves, 3 waves, 3 waves, and then essentially you have an extended wave 5. Okay, and so you have your consolidation reversal channel going on there. But essentially what I'm saying is that this is a great buying opportunity, not financial advice, but like this, it just looks like it, right? For instance, if you look at Dogecoin, what do you see here? What's that? That's 300 or so days, I believe, like 300 days, 250, 260, maybe 300 days, I don't know. It's 250 to 300 days of resistance turned into support that you just bounced off of. So, what do you want to do? Essentially, when you trade, you buy support and you sell resistance. This is support. You're bouncing off support and you're consolidating on support. So, I mean, looks, it's good. It's as good a buy as any in my estimation. Okay. Ethereum, kind of same thing here. You came all the way down to this level, right? This bear market accumulation resistance broken and retested again, because it was retested here. Now it was retested again. So you retested it twice, essentially. And it looks like you retested it in this, looks like a flat correction, right? Looks like a 3 waves. This looks like 1, 2, 3. And then this looks like a pivot. And then this is very clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 situation. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that the downside is exhausted. Not just because we're on support, but also because you can count on a lot of these assets 5 waves down, which is all she wrote when it comes to elite wave impulses. Generally speaking, okay, I understand that you can have extensions and stuff. Litecoin. This is an example of, okay, you're buying support and some of these assets are going to react in kind. They're going to show you that they're on support by breaking out from there. Here, I think what you could do is you could take the top of this consolidation that has a lot of price action. Again, support and resistance will take you so far, even if you don't know anything about Gann, Wyckoff, Elliott wave analysis, basic support and resistance. You can make a career out of if you're consistent, right? If you're consistent, you're disciplined, you're serious. A lot of unserious traders and speculators out there who they use a rule or guideline in one instance and then in another instance they ignore it. And it's just human nature, sometimes we just create a story that fits the narrative that we want to see, not what we're actually seeing. And that takes practice to notice when you're doing that. In any case, I would say in Litecoin that we went through a lot here. There's a lot of price act. The story that the chart's telling me is that this was arduous. This was this level right here, 90 to 91, was important. I'm not even going to bother zooming out to the 4 hourly, the weekly, or whatever. Let's just stay on the hourly. This level is important. Price had trouble getting up and through it. Rejected first. Tried it again. Consolidated at resistance. And finally broke out. That was a very big deal right here. Okay? That's what the chart is saying. That's the story it's telling. And so, it's very important to retest that level as support. It was done once. And it was done twice. Okay? It was done thoroughly. You retested important resistance as support. That's finished. Do expect this to continue. Again, crypto is a little easier to trade than a lot of these traditional markets. Why? Because most of the time, 95% of assets are doing the same thing. in different ways. Okay, they're doing the same thing in different ways, meaning if they're all going up, or they're all going down, or they're all going sideways, more or less. Okay, so if you have something like Litecoin, we discussed, is in this cycle one of those market leaders, right? Based off of and I said this months and months ago, that in the bull run, Litecoin is going to be a leader because of its high time frame market structure, being that it's been for the lifetime of its existence, for the entirety of its existence, it's been in what we call a leading diagonal, or it's been in consolidation. I'm not a big fan of leading diagonals, as if or if you're subscribed, you'll know my whole rant on that. I'm not going to get into it, but essentially it's been in corrective patterns, in corrective sequences, building up for an explosion of impulsive price action to the upside, and that's what we're getting the beginnings of. And so don't be surprised that Litecoin is breaking out of this mini consolidation accumulation range first. So it's basically showing you what's coming from this level. Okay, and also don't be surprised that we're finding that a lot of these altcoins are on support. A lot of these altcoins are going to break out of that support area. Remember, if it's truly a bear market, if it's truly a bull market, Bitcoin is going to be lagging. Altcoins are going to be leading. That's what happens in a bull market. Those assets that have less market cap, they're more volatile, they lead the market. Okay. Reserve rights. Okay, this to me screams an ending diagonal. Okay. How do you count this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. The fact that I can count consistently, going through these altcoins, I can consistently count 5 waves in this impulse tells you that it's likely that these levels are accumulation levels. Okay, that's just a really good way to read the market. Obviously, you can do this by reading the total crypto market cap. I think we have it open here. Let's see. You can read the total crypto market cap, and you can also see some sort of you can see the same thing we saw in Bitcoin and a lot of these alts. Basically, you could read that this is a small degree. Sorry, I messed that up. This is a small degree 5-wave sequence, and this is its adjoining a flat correction retracement. And they took a similar amount of time, 11 days, and you could see that the retracement comes down exactly where we expect it to, between the 0.5 and the 618 Fibonacci retracement levels. And so, again, the total crypto market cap tells you the story, but sometimes I don't even like to look at that. I just simply go through my watch list and go one by one and make my reads. And the reads are saying, this is accumulation. Don't be afraid to buy support, because what's coming next is the resumption of the impulsive move. Let's take a quick break, read some comments. Cliff BTC says, came in a little late. You long or short on your Bitcoin position? I'm long. MB says look at gas. Okay, gas in USD. So we'll have a look. Okay, let's go a little faster. Okay, so SHIB, you're coming back down to these regions, and again, you see that price tells you the story on this chart was this was a little bit of a task. Okay, getting through this level right here. And it finally broke, retested, and broke again. Now it's retesting it. That's the story it tells me on the hourly chart. Again, I'm not even going to, zoom out and give a thorough analysis, but just, small time frame, hourly time frame. That's the story. I would not be afraid to buy support, right? That's support because it was previous resistance, okay? You don't need your VRVP. You don't need all these indicators. Look at the price action. Understand the story that's being told. this was definitely a level, because over time it showed you many days difficulty in breaching that level, broke it, retested it, consolidated at it. You want to never be afraid to buy support. And I'm not going to say don't be afraid to short resistance, because shorting takes a little bit more skill. I think it's like a little more advanced. You can't spot short, for instance, right? You got to leverage short, and that's a different conversation. But I think it's never a bad idea to buy support, especially in crypto, and where you're talking about a high time frame market that's on the up, in an uptrend, a high time frame uptrend, right? Synthetics, same here. I'm seeing a big flat correction. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's see that. 1, 2. I think 2 is up here. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so essentially, big flat correction. You're at the end of the flat correction. Don't be afraid to buy support. Another way to say that, don't be afraid to buy after you see 5 waves down in a counter. Right? Here's a great example of a reclamation of resistance, or reclamation of support that was lost. Okay, so we said, I forget what other asset we looked at that lost the support level. And typically when you want to go short, or you expect the price to break down, what you're going to see is you lose support, you retest that support as resistance, and then you go to hell. But when price is testing for extra liquidity, pools of liquidity, like prices, like water, like electricity, always finds liquidity in the market. People for the longest period of time has been buying support, buying support, buying support, buying support. Oh, let's see. Nice support line you have. It'd be a shame if somebody wicked below it and tested it to see if there was any money, any stops below that support level. Okay, so that's kind of like order blocks and stuff like that. But essentially, the idea is simple. You go down and you wick below, and it's called a spring by the way in Wyckoff. Wyckoff calls it a spring. You spring below support, you test, and then you reclaim it. You see, you come back up, and that's what I think people misuse the term bear trap. That is what you call a bear trap. That spring, that going below support and then coming right back above it. So that's why, support and resistance can get you in trouble if you only use support and resistance. But if you know that exists, then you're careful. Only having support and resistance and being disciplined in reading support and resistance, you can do amazing things trading. You can have a very long, beautiful career trading just using support and resistance. XRP, here again, I'm seeing a sort of flat correction. These are not easy to see. I don't think they're the easiest reads in the world. I'll say that from the outset, because I look at charts every day, all day, every day. And so after a while, it makes sense to me, but I would not be able to read these earlier in my career. Not at all. But you're just looking for flavors of 3. So flavors of 3 right here, flavors of 3 right there. And then you see a pivot and then your impulse, okay? So that's pretty much it. So you have this WXY. This is a complex correction. And then this is your accumulation. And that's pretty much it. Where's that happening? Ooh. You're accumulating on support. Why is this support? Because it's the midline of this channel. Right? This large purple box, by the way, for those of you who are not subscribed, is my bear market accumulation for most of these assets. So the midline always in a channel represents support when you're above it, resistance when you're below it. So the fact that you came and you wicked and you found support at this midline tells you you're on support. Don't be afraid to buy support. That's the idea. Zilliqa, doing the same thing that we saw in some other assets, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but you're springing below this support line looking for extra liquidity, and now you're reclaiming that lost support. Okay. Here in VeChain, you just stayed the course. You stayed in this big channel, which is a massive flat correction, a complex flat correction. You can see 1, 2, 3 waves, and then a jumble of waves, which is a complex correction, okay? And then a pivot into an impulse. And now you are consolidating at support. Don't be afraid to buy support. For those of you who are interested, I would say that this middle here is... So the first thing I see is 1, 2, 3. So I would read this as one thing. I would read that as one thing. So yeah, I would say this is WXY. I would say this is W. I would say that's X. I'd say this is a... sorry. Y, X. I'd say it's a WXYXZ, okay? Because that's the pivot right here. So I would say this is Y, and that's X2. And then this is Z, okay? So that's my 333. So it's a big, complex... It's a flat correction at the end of the day. Nothing more, nothing less. Doesn't matter if it's 333 or 333. Theta, it's just a flat correction. It's a flat correction here. I see this as being 3 waves, 3 waves, a pivot, and then it's a running flat correction essentially, like a WXY. And I don't think this is really relevant. If anything, I would move this down here. I think this is more like it. Something like that, right? There's more data down here. Even extend this like that, but I think you get the point. This is the support of this pattern. So you're at support. And never be afraid to buy support. Telcoin. It's a little more volatile, but I think this is a good example of 5 waves up, 3 waves down. Okay? I think this is, again, what I said in the beginning of the stream. You're going to have a series of wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, wave 2. Here, I think you got, well, this is, I think, a zigzag, because the time doesn't fit. Okay, so I think you have a version of 5 waves up here and 3 waves down, but the time doesn't fit, so I think that's corrective. But I think this is purely impulsive. 5 waves up, 3 waves down, and I don't think that's at the 618. That is probably a flat correction. Yeah, you're at the 786. Okay, let's zoom out for a second here. What is this? What is this? What the hell is this? Okay. It's a little tricky. Oh, I see. Oh, this is a big running flat. That's what it is. It's a big running flat, yeah? It's a big running flat. I'm like a little lost in terms of my orientation because this channel's kind of downward sloping and I'm on a small time frame and I don't want to take too much time and zoom out. But I'll say on the small time frames, I think you're looking at something that is like... I should really zoom out because I'm just going to be lying and making shit up. I don't like doing that. Is this a triangle? Is this a triangle? That's the first thing that comes to mind when I see this. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Somewhere here, I will not be surprised if you got an A wave, a B wave, a C wave, a D wave. Maybe this is the D wave. And an E wave. Wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this was one massive triangle, one massive pennant. Okay, that's my best read on this, to be honest. Okay, so yeah, let's move on. In any case, you should never be afraid to buy something that has matriculated to the top of its channel. Okay, this channel has proven to be a consolidation. Okay, and the top of the channel obviously is resistance. You broke above it and you're retesting it. You should never be afraid to buy that support level. So that's essentially what I'm seeing here. Okay, let's go back down to the smaller time frame. Matic. One large complex running flat. That's what I see. One large complex running flat. Like that. Okay, and then in between you have, you have a complex correction. But essentially it's one large complex running flat. And I think this is your consolidation reversal that's taking place, and it's in the form of a zigzag right there. Okay, so that's what I see with Matic. But you're way above resistance, which is excellent. DYDX. Okay, I think this is a clean and clear zigzag. Yeah. I think the zigzag even it goes like this. This is the orthodox high of the zigzag, but I think that X wave or B wave, whatever you want to call it, is like this. And then this is that impulse. And again, don't be afraid to buy support. What's your support? You have to kind of zoom out to see it. But your support is right here, really established. Okay? You can see that. Just look at price action. You can use your VRVP or VPVR, whatever you want to call it, your visible range volume profile, horizontal volume, or you could just zoom out and look at price action. I would say if you're learning, if you want to really establish your skills in reading charts, reading the stories, just zoom out, look at price action. It tells you exactly what you need to know. That was clearly resistance, clearly resistance, clearly resistance. You finally broke through. You're obviously going to retest it as support, as prices want to do in a reclamation of a trend, right? If you're bullish, you're basically breaking resistance, testing it as support, breaking resistance, testing it as support, on and on and on and on. That's exactly what's happening here. Do expect a continuation. Never be afraid to buy support. So that's all I'm seeing there. Harmony. Same thing. I'm seeing this as being, before I make that assertion. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, that is one large uptrend. But again, it goes back to what I said with Bitcoin. You're going to see a lot of wave 1, wave 2 situations. So somewhere here, I think you got 5 waves up and 3 waves down. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. And you clearly have 1, 2, 3. Probably if you measure this, we don't have time right now, but if you take this A wave and this B wave and extend this C wave, you'll probably get 1 to 1, 2, 3, 6. That's mathematical support. Never be afraid to buy support. All right. Let me check time. Okay. Let's move. These days I gotta pick up my son after, so I can't dilly-dally. I see a flat correction here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So yeah, that's what I see in Moon River. Link. Okay, this is one of those that I added. Okay, and I'm like, I don't know how to read this. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, okay, never be afraid to buy support. Support. Lots of data. Lasted a few days. So, okay, I'm just going to buy support. I just bought support. So on, so good. So far, so good. Now, it's not that simple because I trade on margin. And if you're at a high margin, your room for error is smaller. So there are some other things I did to help be successful in this trade. I'm not going to go into it. We don't have time right now. but that involves zooming in and looking at different things. But on a higher time frame, that's essentially this was my first analysis of this chart, to get into this chart, to get along. I looked at this support level and I'm like, that's support. And I was afraid to buy it. And I was like, I don't know. And I had to literally tell myself, dude, don't be afraid to buy support. If you want to, snipe your entry, go on the smaller time frames and look for other things that But otherwise, on a high time frame, don't be afraid to buy support. Your invalidation obviously would be a breakdown, break up, retesting of that, and then a loss of that. So anyway, that's what I did. And so far, so good. DOT, I did the same thing. Okay. And that level of support was, instead of a diagonal level of support, it was more horizontal. Okay, and I used this level. So that's all I did. I bought support. So I added a few new assets. But essentially what I'm looking at here is a large flat correction that starts here with 3 waves. This is a complex wave, whatever. And then this is my final impulse in 5. That's it. And you're at support right here. There's 2 levels of support. There's one here, and then there's one here. So you could say there's double support here. Don't be afraid to buy support. Be doubly less afraid to buy double support. So yeah, that's what I did. Key, super volatile altcoin, but in an uptrend. All right, it could either go up, down, or sideways. This is clearly going up. And this is, the support. If you trend this uptrend, that's support, that's support, that's support, that's support. Never be afraid to buy support. I've been in this trade. This is not one that I added recently, so it's been doing fine. Okay, and that's pretty much it. That's my analysis. Let's go over the different altcoins that you guys gave. So gas for MB, we have Glimmer and FTM for a Kongsha, and then let's call it a stream. All right, let's first check. Okay, there's some green. Has anything really popped up and out? Not quite yet. Things are starting. Okay. Let's see. DXY still playing at resistance. Yes, it is. Still playing at resistance. All right, let's do our other watch list, general watch list. Okay, you can see in the general watch list, these are not necessarily things I'm trading, but you can see certain assets are starting to break out. Okay, and that's always a good sign. Remember, it's crypto. You don't have random things doing, very few altcoins just doing their own thing. Most of the time, they're following a larger trend set by Bitcoin's large gravity in market cap. So GRT, FET, VGX, CTSI, you're getting some breakouts. Expect breakouts in your assets as well. Okay, let's look at FTM and we already have FTM. Why do we have to do that? All right, here. Okay, so on a small time frame, I want to say this is an example of 5 waves up, 3 waves down, right? And the first thing that jumps out at me is this corrective wave right here. This is clearly 3 waves, 5 waves, okay? So 3 waves, 5 waves. We know that that is a type of... Actually, is that 3 waves or 5 waves? I want to say... Let's see. Is this a zigzag or flat? Let's measure. I would say that this is the orthodox bottom. That's a zigzag. That is a zigzag. Okay, so this is a 5, 3, 5. 5, 3, 5. Okay? And this is one of those pronounced zigzags where your extension's probably to the 1618, yeah? Let's just check. Yeah, even beyond the 1618. But essentially at the 1618, yeah? Yeah, pronounced zigzag. So I think this is a situation where you're getting a 5 waves up, 3 waves 5 waves up, 3 waves down. And again, you have a massive uptrend, right? Going on for a while. I stopped because my question in my head popped in. Is this finished? So let's answer that. Let's zoom out. Because this has been going up for some time, right? Let's get rid of this. Okay, there is some... First thing I want to do is this. There is a little bit, okay, not a massive amount, but a little bit of a level here. Meaning, that proved to be support, that proved to be resistance, that proved to be resistance. We have 3 data points spanning a year, 365 days. So, that tells me, the story that tells me is that once price broke... Where the hell is my... Here. Once price broke this level, came up, it was likely to retest it, and that's exactly what happened. And another thing this tells me is, don't be afraid to buy support or add to your position or whatever, because I have 1, 2, 3 data points. So the story that tells me is that this is significant level, or it's a... Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's a significant level of support. It's support because we're above it. And it was significant resistance when we broke it. It's just we made it look easy, which is what you do when you're in a trending market. You break, staunch resistance or resistance that seems significant, but you break it. But then you always have to retest it if it's important enough. And so that's what we did. I would seem to think that was good. The other thing that jumps out at me looking at this chart is... This was clearly a wave 1, wave 2 situation. I say clearly because I'm just looking at the time it took for this wave 1 to form, the time it took for wave 2 to form. They're comparable. So it's unlikely that that's corrective. So I want to say that that's wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 doesn't look like that. Hold up, let's check that. Let's check that. Wave 4 typically, especially if wave 2 is sharp, wave 4 is typically flat. Yeah? Let's measure. Let's do our extension here. So this wave 1 going up, I would say finishing here. Yeah, you got an extended... If that was wave 3, it would have been an extended wave 3, but you expect extensions in a bull market. I don't know what this is. I don't know what the count is, and that's fine. I'm fine and comfortable not knowing what the count is. I know enough to say that it's likely that this is a support level. I don't know that you're going to up and continue from here, though. I wouldn't be surprised if you did. Because, like I said, you're going to put in a series of wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, wave 2. And you're in an impulsive market. So I'd be surprised, actually, if you did anything like this before you move. But that is also on the table. That's possible. Okay, so that's basically what I know and the extent to which I know it for FTM. Okay, let's look at Moonbeam, I think it's called. Weird to call something GLMR and have it called Moonbeam. It confuses me every single time, and I hate it. This is a level right here. Okay, you can tell it's a level. Why? Because when you were above it, it was support. And you rested on it. You broke it. You retested it. You came back down. You broke it again. Now you're reclaiming it. So you're on support, and you're putting in what looks to be some sort of W pattern, which is a bullish pattern when you break the neckline. So you put in a flat correction above that, and you should be going back up from there. So that's a glimmer. And then let's look at gas and call it a stream. Gas, right? Gas. Gas and maker. I don't have time for salt today. Because I gotta get ready and go pick up my son. Gas. Okay, this is extremely volatile, but there's nothing concerning about it, given that this is clearly a level, right? It was resistance, 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 finally broke it, and now you're retesting it. That's it. It's quite simple. Simple support and resistance. This level at $3.10, very important. Once it was broken, it had to be retested. That's what you just did. Never be afraid to buy support. So, and then he said maker, right? Let's see. Maker, yeah. Maker. I've got to keep it at Binance. I'm sorry. I can't do like a deep dive just because I don't have the time right now. I gotta go in a few minutes. I can't be late to pick up my son from school. Maker. Always interesting what I did. Don't even know what the fuck I was doing. All right. You're on support. That's the thing I would say. Okay? Whatever this is, you came up correctively and you came right back down correctively. Okay? However it is, right? Like this. Okay? You're on support, high time frame. The other thing I'll say is, just like I said before, every single time you go and trend in one direction, if you wish to change the direction of that trend, you gotta go sideways. So that's what you did right here. And because you went sideways for a decent amount of time, and you seem to be putting in some sort of accumulation channel, you know, you can count 2 degrees of AB basing in a pivot, or you can look at it in terms of Wyckoff accumulation schematic. Doesn't matter. You can expect, with the degree of probability, that there's a chance that you break this to the upside and you change the trend from down to up. And you're pretty much at the resistance level, or close to the resistance level. Let's zoom in for a second. Let's put channel here really quickly. So you are at resistance. And more specifically, what you're doing is you're consolidating at resistance, which is bullish, okay? You're consolidating at resistance. As you can see on the higher time frame, you're, unlike the DXY, you're here, but your momentum is oversold. So you came, you didn't reject, but you're consolidating here to break. So I wouldn't be afraid to buy this support. Again, price is telling you that this is an important level. rejected, or consolidated against, finally broke up, retested. Don't be afraid to buy support. That's probably what you're doing right there. Okay. Somebody asked for the DXY. It was earlier in the show. Just rewind. That's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I gotta go. Take care. Hope that was helpful. Hope that was useful. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.